Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Whatcom County Council meeting for February 21st, 2017. Could you please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner.
Here.
Red Brown.
Here.
Barry Buchanan.
Here.
Todd Donovan.
Here.
Ken Mann.
Here.
Satpal Sidhu.
Here.
Carl Weimer.
Here.
Thank you. Could we please rise and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Couple of quick announcements. If you have your cell phone with you, please make sure it's on vibrate or off. And if you'll be handing out any paperwork to any of the council members, please include a copy for our staff. This afternoon we had a meeting, executive session, committee of the whole. First item was discussion with Public Works staff regarding potential property acquisition. No action was taken. Second item was discussion with Senior Deputy Prosecutor Karen Frakes regarding pending litigation, Whatcom County Association of Realtors et al. Versus Whatcom County Growth Management Hearing Board case number 16-2-0007. Third item was discussion with Senior Deputy Prosecutor Karen Frakes regarding pending and potential litigation, Hearst et al. Versus Whatcom County Growth Management Hearings Board case number 12-2-0013. We have 4 sets of minutes to approve this evening. There's special committee of the whole for January 10th, 2017, special committee of the whole for January 24th, 2017, the county council meeting for January 24th, 2017, and the surface water work session for February 14th, 2017. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Brown.
May I ask that number 4 be voted on separately?
Okay, number 4 will be voted on separately. So we are items 1, 2, and 3. Is Ms. Brenner's motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. I'd entertain a motion for item 4.
Move to approve. Oops, he'll move. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
1 abstention.
And 1 abstention. So that's 6-0 and 1 abstention. We have a special presentation this evening by the Portage Bay Partnership. This is a historic agreement to improve water quality in the Nooksack Basin. I'd like to call forward Chairman Ballou and some of the folks that are involved in this partnership.
I'm Rich Apple. I'm a dairy farmer in Ferndale. I was part of the group that negotiated the Portage Bay Partnership. Not one of the original signers, but was involved in the process for the past 15 months, and then for the past 15 months, and quite.
They can't hear back there. Are you sure it's on?
Want me to speak a little closer to it? Okay.
There.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Get
All right.
real close.
Do you want me to start over?
Sure.
Anyway, Rich Apple, dairy farmer, Ferndale, Washington, quite involved in the negotiations of the Portage Bay Partnership. And I know that many of you council members were at the signing and have some understanding of the partnership. I guess, you know, from our standpoint as the ag community in Whatcom County, we relate to the tribe's issue with the shellfish bed closures. We consider the tribe to be the farmers of the sea. They've had ground that they can't farm, and we can relate to that as a farming community. We farm the land, and I think we're thankful that Tim stepped in when he did and gave us an opportunity to find a different path. We know that litigation is painful in a lot of ways and does a lot of damage in the community and to families, and we were able to avoid that. We were able to provide relief for some of the shellfish harvesters. And what we're really excited about going forward is having a partner to work with to reopen the shellfish beds. And we've been meeting with different groups, cities and different groups, talking about water quality issues in Whatcom County. And I think, you know, as the ag part of the Portage Bay Partnership, we want the county to embrace the water quality issue in Portage Bay, because I think it will not be solved on the backs of agriculture. It needs to be community-wide, and it needs to be really addressed by everybody. And so we want to see that prioritized by our county and by the cities, and we want those shellfish beds to be open sooner than later. So we don't have you know, a specific ask tonight, but that will be coming. I think there's a lot of opportunities that don't even necessarily require funding, but that we could come together and join together on and make a difference for that. So with that, I'll let Tim say a few words.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the council for allowing some time on this evening's agenda. Really just wanted to come this evening and let you guys know that we're going in almost 2 months into the agreement that we have with 7 local dairy farmers. And Rich represents the Ag Water Board, who took a significant role in negotiating at the end of last year an agreement between 2 of the oldest industries in this area, fishing and farming. And both are family-based businesses, and the premise for developing this partnership is providing certainty in the future for the harvesting community of Whatcom County, because it's really a defining fabric of the community that we share. And a goal for the partnership is to provide improved water quality for the Portage Bay shellfish beds, but in turn that's going to improve the water quality for the whole Nooksack River Basin. And somewhere along the way, after these first 6 months or so, we're going to have some sort of legislative, it's quite likely would have a legislative ask either at the federal or state level. And just in our past experience, one of the first questions is what's the position of the locals and the county government? And we come here really tonight just to ask to keep an open mind, if not a support for this partnership that would improve the water quality for all the people. And if there's any questions that the council has, we're happy to answer.
Mr. Brown.
I have no question. I just wanted to thank you for coming, and I have great respect for you, Mr. Ballou and Chairman Ballou, and the Lummi Nation, and I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate the fact that you guys were able to work this out between you, and I look forward to assisting in that process going forward.
Mr. Donovan.
I just concur with Mr. Brown, and thanks, Mr. Apple and Chairman Ballou. I don't know what the ask is going to be, but I do know from my one limited year of experience on here that the Drayton Harbor model with collaboration and a limited role of government has been working really well. And I hope that the model that you're building, which is potentially different than that, works. And if there's anything we can do as a council to help make it work, I want to hear that. So.
Mr. Sadhu.
I just want to congratulate both of you. Like you said, both are farming communities, and working together is setting up a good example and building up on the success of Drayton Harbor. It takes a lot of courage to trail new blaze or blaze new trail. I think it's a step in the right direction. We always talk about let all the stakeholders get together and make common decisions and what is good for the community. I think this is a perfect example. I know it's not an easy path, but I think it's the best path. And if we work together, it will be successful. And I just want to add one more thing, that there are no bigger environmentalist people than farmers, because the very profession they are in depends on good environment. It may take a little longer for people to realize that, but it is in their best interest to protect the environment that protects their profession. And you have my full support in whichever way we could help.
Yeah, I totally agree. You have 100% of my support. I think this is something that's going to benefit everyone in the county. It's just so awesome to see this kind of a partnership move forward, and we're looking forward to supporting you. Mr. Executive?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman Blue. Mr. Apple, thank you so much for coming. I've had the opportunity of having the Ag Water Board in my office already since the signing of the document, and have given the commitment of the administration that as the group, the co-chairs of this committee get together and to put their work plan together is that we're going to be involved and supportive in whatever ways that we can. And we've developed a liaison through Public Works Department for the ongoing discussions moving forward with it. And I'd like to congratulate the groups for coming together also to make this happen. The Drayton Harbor model is a good model for us to take a look at, and of course it took about 20 years to get there, and we need to learn from that, and we need to make this happen a lot quicker than that. We were making some real progress in the early 2000s. We've slipped backwards a bit. We need to do what we can, but I think it's important to note is that it's going to take all of us. It's going to take the municipalities with their stormwater. It's going to take the on-site sewage system monitoring and upkeep. Farming community needs to do their work. We've got the livestock community. We've got the berry. I mean, there's all of us are going to have to work towards this solution, because I don't think that it's one particular entity that is going to solve all of the problem. Along with that, we have the international aspect of this, where we have water coming through, Cam Creek and Fish Trap and so on and so forth that's coming into the watershed. And on the long term, we're going to have to see what we can do to work with the Canadian government through the state of Washington to see if we can make improvements there. But exciting time, and thank you so much for being here tonight. And the administration lends its support to your and our success as we work towards getting Portage Bay opened again for shellfish harvesting.
Any other questions, comments? Thanks so much. Oh, Ms. Brenner.
Yeah, I think it took a lot of courage for both of you and both sides to come together and work on this. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I sure hope it will, because it's off to, I think, a really good start. So thank you very much for even trying to do this. And I think it's going to be very positive.
And thanks for being here this evening. We really appreciate it.
May I speak to this issue?
No.
No. You can during open session,
Which is,
which is next.
Thank you.
Okay, we are in open session. During open session, audience members may have up to 3 minutes to address the council on any issue relevant to county business. Before beginning to comment, please state your name and topic of interest for the record. And if your last name is complicated, please spell it for our clerk. Make sure to speak directly into the microphone. Come on forward.
Hello, my name is William Lafreniere. I'm just north of Bellingham in the county. I wanted to, I have a little bit of concern about the Portage Bay pollution, shellfish pollution problem, and my concern is that tidal waters might be drawing sewage past Victoria, sewage that's coming from the Victoria, and drawing it out into the clam beds, and no matter what we do, we can't deal with that. So that needs to be something that has to be investigated by that group there. So just to clarify if that is indeed an issue on that, what they're dealing with there. Okay, Dear County Council, I wrote myself a nice little letter here. The citizens of Whatcom County are again faced with another crisis. It is being claimed that despite its best efforts to control drain fields, that there are some that are out of compliance. The health department simply cannot keep the drain fields from polluting, so they want to get heavy-handed with the rural septic tank owners. All of the drain fields have been constructed according to specifications accepted by the health department. It is the power of the health department presently that has created the drain field problems. The department has adopted a policy that rural residents must use inferior sewage technology so that the only fix available is to put them on municipal sewage systems. I have recommended the development of dehydrating composting systems. Neither the health department nor this county council has acted upon my recommendations. The health department does not need the power to levy fines against citizens. They need to assist in the development of alternative technologies. It is my understanding that the county council only takes actions on issues brought to the agenda by the executive. If the executive is cowing to the requests of his departments for more power, then the council should see fit to have him replaced with someone who has less contempt for the citizens of Whatcom County. Again, I would request that the county council adopt a program to assist private citizens with their efforts to develop improved rural sewage systems. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Charles Bailey. I live on Lummi Island, and I'm a member of the Lummi Island Ferry Advisory Committee. You appointed me to this position about a year ago, and I have to thank you. It's been an extraordinarily interesting time. Earlier today, our Vice Chair, Nancy Ging, addressed the Committee on Public Works concerning the resolution establishing a new level of service for the ferry. And I'm here tonight with another of my colleagues, Chris. Chris will speak next. And also like to bring you greetings from Stu Clark, who is our chairman, and Mike Scahan, who is the other member. Basically, we've been working hand in glove, cheek by jowl with Public Works to have this discussion, which has become more and more focused and has resulted in the document that you have before you, and we encourage your consideration and adoption. We also have been undertaking a serious review of the data on ferry use. Beginning with 2015 with Public Works, we randomly selected 2,100 sailings from the entire year with an emphasis on holidays and weekends, and came up with this report which shows when the peak flows are and when a lot of other things that are useful. Now, as you may know, they only collect the traffic going one way. So 2015, this is basically going from Gooseberry Point to Lummi Island. We are now engaged in an exercise 4 times during this year, 2017, to collect data both ways, including cars left on the dock, so we can further improve this analysis. We think, together with the resolution, that this will provide the basis of the next stage, which is an analysis of alternatives with which we can expect to be also intimately involved. So I will give this to the clerk. It's also attached electronically to the minutes of the LIFAC meeting of last October. There's a graph for every day of the week, so you can see when you actually should go to get on the ferry to make sure you have a place. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, Council. My name is Chris Colburn. I'm also a member of LIFAC, and I'm the non-island representative, so I don't live on the island. Right now, I'm the only person on the committee who doesn't live on the island. So I'm just here to ask for your support of this resolution. This is, and the resolution is a product of a lot of work really great work that I'm really thankful for. Think I've served on the committee since 2012, and we've just reached a new sort of level of cooperation and support with Public Works staff. They've done great stuff, and the resolution is really the product of the cooperation between the community, the committee, and Public Works staff. And the details and alternatives analysis that are part of what we're asking approval for is the opportunity to really get into the specifics of how do we balance concerns, how do we balance the desires of some folks for more expanded service and others for real fiscal responsibility. And you don't get a ferry that often, so it deserves a lot of really serious thought, and not just about the vessel, but about everything connected with it, docks, parking, all of that stuff. So this is the opportunity to have professional support, to spell all of that out, answer all your questions and community questions, and keep it moving along. So that's really all I have to say, but I hope you can support it.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ross. I am just a member of the Lummi Island community. I've lived on the island for about 13 years now and have been watching ferry issues for about 12 of those years. And I really would like to say a public thank you to the Public Works Department for working so well with LIFAC. Thank you to the council for creating LIFAC, and it has given a lot of the people on Lummi Island a lot of hope that that we will be involved in the process of getting a replacement ferry eventually. And I just would like to thank especially Roland Middleton and Rob Nye from Public Works for coming over and coming to our LIFAC meetings. That is very appreciated. And I hope that you can support this work that has taken a lot of time by the LIFAC and by members of the Lummi Island community via an organization on the island called PLIC. And just thanks a lot, and I hope you really do consider it and support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rayma Blake, also from Lummi Island, former member of PLIC and current member of the Lummi Island Advisory Committee on the Ferry, which you created to build consensus, to come up with data on ferry issues. And I think we are doing that. I think you can see from the resolution that even with the collaborative efforts we've had with Public Works, there are more questions than answers. And what the document is asking basically is your approval to go ahead and ask and answer these questions so we can bring you the right recommendation. I have no idea what it's going to be. There's no preconceived notions. All we've done at this point is to say, what are the questions? And I think the document does a very good job of doing that. And so I ask you for your support so we can keep moving forward. Thanks.
Thanks.
Wendy Harris. I'd like to say I don't support the Portage Bay Partnership. I think it reflects your failure to regulate agriculture. We should be regulating our natural resources in the best interests of the public, and it should be a public, open process, like the people from the the Ferry Committee were here talking about. But when you have private parties that are meeting with a sovereign nation to settle things, that only settles things between those parties. And they're only looking at their own concerns, not the larger concerns of the public. And it cuts the public out of the process, and I don't like that. And I have seen consistently throughout my work on the critical area ordinance, with the critical aquifer recharge areas, with the CPAL farm plans, with the many exemptions and exceptions to critical area protection that is given to agriculture, that we are not regulating agriculture enough. I know it brings in money, but that's not enough. We've got to protect our ecosystems, and we're not doing it. And your failure to do that results in private settlements that shouldn't be happening. It's not efficient, and it cuts the public out. Secondly, I'm here because I wanted to say that I strongly support, mostly, the memo that the staff wrote this morning regarding the geologically hazardous areas of the critical area. But it begs the question. They did a couple of things that were really great. They talked about the legal standard, which is that if you're dealing with a geologically hazardous area, you can build there as long as you make it safe. And so then the question becomes, what's an acceptable standard of safety? They also did something else. They went out and they talked to some scientists and they got some information. And those are the things they should have been doing all along on every issue. And what's interesting is if you go back and you look at the chapter on geological hazards, that legal standard that they cited in their memo, it's not reflected in the chapter. Whatever
30 seconds,
updated
please.
science they were citing to you, it's not in the best available science report. When I looked at the best available science report that you guys got, there's nothing listed under geologically hazardous lands. And so we are not doing the proper analysis in our critical area ordinance, and it's not going to withstand review unless we do for each element and for each type of critical area the type of analysis that you saw the
Time.
staff do for the geologically hazardous. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to us during the open session? Seeing no one, we will close the open session. And we'll turn it over to Mr. Brown from Finance.
Mr. Chair, the Whatcom County Finance and Administrative Services Committee met today. We considered items 1 through 6 on our consent agenda. These received a unanimous approval, and I so move.
Okay, we have a motion to approve these 6 items on the consent agenda. Discussion, Ms. Brenner?
Wait a minute, it wasn't on the consent agenda, never mind.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0.
Mr. Chair, the next item was a resolution amending the 2017 flood control zone district subzone budgets. First request in the amount of $143,676. In this case, the council is acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. This received unanimous approval, and I so move.
Okay, we have this motion before us. Any discussion?
Just a sec. No.
Could you please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Fred Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ken Mann,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Carl Weimer.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, the next item was an ordinance amending the 2017 Whatcom County budget. Second request in the amount of $464. This received unanimous approval, and I so move.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this motion? Mr. Donovan?
I just to point out that if anybody had the packet, there was some confusion earlier, there was an Anderson Creek project that was pulled, so the additional packet doesn't match what we discussed this afternoon,
The
which it
amendment.
does actually get to the 88,464 number.
Mr. Donovan is correct.
I was confused. It took me this long to figure it out.
Did you have anything?
Well, I will say, I'm not comfortable with the first item, to appropriate $150,000 to fund Petrogas facility appeal defense. But in all fairness to the assessor, he says that he didn't get any specifics why they're appealing it, so I guess we don't have any choice. I wasn't going to support it, but without having the specific information, I don't see how I can vote against it.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I support the assessor's request on this regard. It's sort of odd that the purchaser paid $262 million for a piece of property that within a year they said was worth $46 million and $42 million. So I think the assessor has a legitimate reason to question why they want their justification for asking for a reduction in their property taxes, particularly as the rest of us would have to pick up the difference.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, could you please call the roll?
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ken Mann,
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Carl Weimer,
Yes.
Barbara Brenner,
Did you say Barbara Brand? Oh, yes.
That passes 7-0.
Mr. Chair, the next item is an ordinance amending the Whatcom County Code 2.03, 2.22, 2.104 to prohibit the appointment of declared political candidates to boards, committees, and commissions, and requiring resignation from the Ethics Commission and Salary Commission for members seeking an elected position within the county. This received a vote of 2 for and 1 against, and I so move, and we have 2 variations of changes to that packet, which I can go over.
Okay?
So the first ordinance, which is, this version here, the first ordinance made changes that we discussed and voted on during the meeting, and the second version is an amendment that I have proposed in response to some concerns that Mr. Weimer and Mr. Sidhu had raised. And to read those into the record, it would change under 2.03.09. The new language would read, individuals who have declared candidacy for a paid elected office in any jurisdiction within the county are not eligible for appointment, while he/she is a candidate shall be eligible for A, appointment as the official representative of an entity that he/she is currently elected to, or B, reappointment to additional terms as allowed by the Whatcom County Code to the same board of commitment he or she was on prior to his or her declaration of candidacy. And I make that as a motion to amend this
Okay.
ordinance.
We have a motion to amend that specific language that was just read into the record on 2.03.090. Any discussion on the amendment?
You probably need a second for that.
Yeah, I'll second it. And I
Go ahead.
just going to, the difference between the thing we talked about this afternoon, what's the,
The difference is that Mr. Weimer had raised the concern of if, say, for example, an elected member of, say, the Linden City Council was up for re-election that year, they declared that they were up for re-election. The language as originally drafted would have prevented them from serving on a board that the Linden City Council wished them to be their representative. So if the Linden City Council says, well, yes, we want John Smith to be our representative on ABC board, this allows that to happen.
Mr. Sidhu?
Earlier in the committee meeting, I voted no for that because one of my concern has been that these boards and committees are actually the training ground or grooming for our future leaders or future council people or all kinds of things. I think that we must make it more convenient and encourage that more and more people serve. As such, it's a lot of times we have found that it's very difficult to find people to serve on these committees, and more so the younger generation to get involved in their government. So when I was thinking about it as we were talking and all this, I was really concerned that I don't want to limit this rule to limit that in any way, but at the same time, I do agree that people should not enhance their resume or whatever just because they want to serve because it looks good on their resume. So I had a conversation with Mr. Brown and look at the amended version, and I'll support this version too.
Ms. Brenner?
Well, just to make it real simple, this is because it's not appropriate for people to, after they've already declared for an office, to then put their name in for a committee. There's a couple of things with it. First of all, it does pad their resume, whether it's intentional or not. Secondly, we're talking about several months difference. If they lose the election, then they can go right on the board right after that. It's not a problem. And if they wouldn't win the election, they probably wouldn't be on the board anyway, because we have certain, spaces for this, or, depending on what space they're, and if they become a council member, then they're not going to be able to take most of those spaces anyway. So I don't see anything inappropriate or difficult in this. We're talking about the difference of a few months.
Mr. Donovan?
Yeah, there's also situations where people may have had their name in the hat for an appointment before they declared, which this would cover as well.
This covers it.
And I'm going to support it, and in large part because of the way I think the whereases were framed to make a sense. We don't want to be seen as a council advantaging or endorsing somebody who might be running for office. And that's just an awkward situation we don't want to be in. I might take that even further in some ways when it comes to filling vacancies, but this doesn't go there. But I mean, I think it's making a sort of statement that we don't want to be picking favorites, or even just appearing to be doing that.
It's a fairness.
Any more discussion on the amendment?
I just wanted to have one clarification. It does cover all the appointments made by the executive to different boards also. I'm just asking. Yes, thank you.
Whatever we vote on.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chair, I just feel duty bound to correct a minor misstatement I made a couple of weeks ago. I had said that when I put out my notice of candidacy, that I had resigned from the Ethics Commission. And I actually went back and looked at the letter, and what I'd done is asked for a leave of absence. So I just wanted to correct the record. But my intention at the time was, if I was called upon during that period of time, was not to serve because of the leave of absence. So just to make sure that's clear.
I would like to offer an amendment as well. And it was called to my attention by our staff in that we need to probably have a definition of candidacy, because that's kind of broad. And there is an RCW that it's RCW 42.17A.005, and I can read that. Definitions in this section apply throughout this chapter. Okay, candidate means any individual who seeks nomination for election or election to public office. An individual seeks nomination or election when he or she first, A, receives contributions or makes expenditures or reserves space or facilities with intent to promote his or her candidacy for office. B, announces publicly or files for office. C, purchases commercial advertising space or broadcast time to promote his or her candidacy. Or D, gives his or her consent to another person to take on behalf of the individual any of the actions in A or C of this subsection. So that would be like a campaign manager or something. Yeah. So this just defines candidacy, and I'm assuming that it would be appropriate to have this in each chapter because they're standalone. So every time you see the word candidacy, the first one would be in 2.03.090. where it reads individuals who have declared candidacy, it would be in parentheses, as defined in RCW 42.17A.055, close parentheses. And then in chapter 2.22, the members of the commission, that's the third, starts on the third line of 2.22.040. The members of the commission may not include any officer, official, candidate, paren, same thing as defined in that RCW. Then in the Code of Ethics, 2.104, letter D, any member who declares candidacy, and after the word candidacy, we would insert that same recital for the RCW.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. So now we're back to the full meal deal. So, any discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, could you please call the roll? Oh, sorry, Mr. Weimer.
I'm going to vote against it. I don't have a strong opinion about it. I just think that it's kind of a solution looking for a problem. I haven't really seen that it's a problem. I have some problems with the timing too, as the way this is written. If you're a candidate, you can't apply to be on our commissions, but you can get on a commission and then the next day become a candidate, and it doesn't change anything. So it's kind of a weird timing issue. Last count, I think last week when I looked at our vacancies, we had more than 30 vacancies, and I can't see someone that's a fire commissioner that might get paid $150 a year being precluded from being on the mental health board or something, and this would do that. So I just have some problems with it, and I don't think it's been a problem in the past, so I'm voting against it.
Ms. Brenner?
Well, I think just the opposite. I think it's this is a good solution to a problem that has been here. And it's not preventing somebody from being on anything. It's deferring it until after the election. That is not the same as preventing.
Mr. Zadoo?
I think that, perfect is enemy of good. If we are trying to see that somebody files for being a member and then once they become member, they declare the candidacy. I mean, how many limits you can put on, and it will be very transparent and obvious for the other people, okay, this is what happened, that they filed before because there's a rule and they did this and did that. So I think that it's a good measure to discourage the candidates only and for the limited time period. And let's try it out and see how it works. So this is not, like Mr. Weimer said, that he's not totally against it, but if we are looking for perfection, very difficult.
Okay, any further discussion? See, Ms. Brenner?
Yeah, I'm totally open if Councilmember Weimer wants to come back and make it more restrictive at some point. I'll support it.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ken Mann.
Yes.
Satpal Sidhu,
Yes.
Carl Weimer,
No.
Barbara Brenner,
Yes.
Red Brown.
Yes.
That passes 6-1 with Councilmember Weimer opposed.
Mr. Chair, the next item was a resolution setting a hearing date to sell tax title property by public auction require TR 2017-01. This received unanimous approval, and I so move.
Okay, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, just for reference, we've had a discussion about the EDI program and the proposal to hold a summit, and we voted that out of the Finance Committee to be now dealt with by the Committee of the Whole.
Okay.
There is no further business.
Thank you. Next up is Public Works, Health and Safety.
First item, number 5, resolution authorizing the use of parks property for road purposes. Sounded like a very good fit, and I appreciate the Parks Director working on this. And we voted on this, it passed 3-0, so I recommend approval.
Okay, so we have a motion to pass this resolution. Any discussion?
Just really quick.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Right, I was just going
Oh, sorry.
to point out that a lot of this parks property is tidelands underwater.
Yeah.
So we're not converting large acreage of parks into some other function. That was it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Number 6, approval of funding priorities for the criminal justice treatment account established under RCW 71.24.580. This went to us for discussion and recommending approval, and it passed in committee 3-0, and I so move.
Okay, discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0.
Number 7, resolution establishing a new level of service for the Lummi Island ferry system. We had, I thought, a very good discussion on this with a lot of the residents from Lummi Island. And this passed 2-1, and I move forward with recommending approval from the council.
Okay, that motion's before us. Discussion? Mr. Mann?
So I had a few issues with this, and I did vote against it in committee because I felt like Exhibit A was a bit broad and overly ambitious, or maybe even generous, depending on your perspective. And if the language was scaled back to reflect a more conservative approach to what's going to be a lot of money to continue running this ferry service, I could support it, but as it was, I didn't support it, and if we want to scale it back a little bit or tweak the language a little bit in places, I'm interested in doing that, but as it is, I can't vote for it.
Ms. Brenner?
Well, Councilmember Mann has opportunities now to work with Public Works staff and the residents on Lummi Island to be very specific about what he wants and where he wants it, and we can still move forward. This is just a first step, and it may end up being scaled back. It may end up being some other things. We don't have any answers, so this is the first step. I think it's extremely important that we at least give them the first step so it can get started.
Mr. Donovan?
Yeah, I'm going to support this and encourage people to. I've been to a few of the LifeAct meetings and seen the data the level of granularity of the data that they've been working with to come up with this. And I really appreciate the work they've been doing on that. And Public Works has been at least every one of those meetings that I've seen. So the collaboration that they've got with Public Works is really impressive. And I look at this, this is a starting point, it's a recommendation, but it really gets an important conversation moving forward about how we're going to place the chief, and I support it.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes 6-1. The Councilmember Mann opposed. Next up is an appointment to the Noxious Weed Control Board. The applicant is Dale Yoder. Do I have a nomination for appointment?
Also move.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Dale Yoder. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next items are 4 items for introduction. Do I have a motion to introduce?
I'll move introduction.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to introduce these 4 items. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we're down to committee reports. I know, Ms. Brenner, you had other things in your committee today,
We did.
I believe.
I guess I thought we voted on everything, but just a second, let me get back to it's been a long day. I'm so sorry, because Director Hutchings is here, I can't let this opportunity pass. That was an excellent presentation on what the goals, the problems, and the efforts from Public Works are on snow and ice during these times, and especially this year, it was very important. Great photographs too, excellent photographs. So we had that presentation. And then We had an update on the design and construction of the Birch Bay Drive and pedestrian facility, and it looks like we're sort of almost halfway there, getting close. So, yeah. So those were the very interesting presentations. Oh, yes, we had a discussion of the proposed ordinance, on-site sewage, and I can relate to, do we vote on that tonight? Or is that on for 2 weeks? What?
It was introduced.
It was introduced. It's going to be introduced for, okay, Forrest, come save me.
The Health Department will come with a new version to be introduced in 2 weeks.
Okay, but I wanted to say for everybody that the new version, the only specific substantive change in the new version is that any homeowner who submits a report of system status as being okay, and it isn't okay, will then no longer be able to, no longer then be able to submit those reports or do their own inspections, and they'll have to do professional inspections. So it really behooves all homeowners who want to do this to do it right the first time. And I say that, but I don't think there's been many who haven't. We had a really low failure rate of people who weren't getting the right information. And so I don't think it's even going to be a problem, but this is the perfect solution. I don't think most people should be punished for the problems of a few. I don't think that's fair. That was one thing. And then the Marine Drive discussion was removed. So there you have it.
Okay, I think that was the end of our committees.
Yeah.
Other items of business? Mr. Mann, anything?
Oh, no, I didn't have my hand up, but I do have something I'll say. That's all right with you? All right. I just wanted to commend PDS for the presentation in Committee of the Whole this morning on lahars and the geologic hazards. And while I found some of the presentation perhaps to reflect a bias of certain staff members, overall I found the I don't know, what do we have, 5 presentations today by the USGS folks and everybody. I thought it was really well done, so I just wanted to credit PDS with that and thank them for the thorough report, and I think we can take it from here.
Mr. Brown?
Nothing to report.
Nothing? I got one thing. Mark it on your calendars. Next council meeting, which is on March 7th, we are going to be starting at 6 p.m. And we are going to be starting that meeting off with a presentation and a panel discussion and a Q&A from the audience on the Hearst ruling. So everything to do with exempt wells, people come on out and watch the presentation and ask your questions. We're going to have some people with water law and some hydrology people. It should be a very informative session. That's all I have.
And I will add to that.
6 p.m., don't forget.
We're going to have an incredible land use attorney who also is very astute in water law. And my only question is, how long is this going to be? I can't even imagine that this wouldn't last the whole night.
Well, we have a public hearing on the ordinance as well, so it's just going to kind of
Well, yeah,
go into that.
but go into that at what time? It seems to me
I'll work on that.
he'll work on that.
Bring your sleeping bag.
Whew, it's going to be a long one.
Do you have anything else to add,
No.
Mr. Donovan?
High school basketball. But I was just gonna,
right,
no,
right,
it's, there's way more stuff going on to comment on, except that for the first time in 13 years, Bellingham's boys team almost had a shot to go to state, and Linden beat them. As they always do. So congratulations to Linden and the Bellingham boys and all the other teams that are going on. But I'm obsessed with basketball, and it's almost March.
It is.
Yeah.
But, Mr. Sadhu, anything?
Yes, I have a very great news, a personal news to share with you. We became grandparents last night. and this is our first grandchild. And I couldn't go today. My family is gone, so I'm waiting anxiously to go there tomorrow and see the young baby girl It's such a great news. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
You can't get any better than that.
Oh, that's the best announcement of the night. Okay, we stand adjourned.
Where's your